In just 2 years, the RV industry went from record profits to complete freefall. Prices have crashed 80%, factories have gone dark, and millions of unsold rigs now sit abandoned. This isn't a slowdown, it's the largest collapse the RV world has ever seen. The RV industry is facing an unprecedented crisis as more than 3 million recreational vehicles flood auctions and liquidation sites nationwide. Luxury motorhomes that once sold for $80,000 to $120,000 are now barely fetching $5,000 to $15,000, leaving dealers, lenders, and private owners reeling. The collapse stems from floor plan loans, credit lines dealers use to stock inventory. When interest rates jumped from 2% to nearly 10%, those monthly payments became crushing. Many dealerships now owe millions on RVs they can't sell, forcing them into insolvency. Elkhart County, Indiana, where 90% of U.S. RVs are manufactured, sits at the crisis center. During the pandemic, factories operated around the clock to meet surging demand as Americans embraced road travel. But manufacturers dramatically overproduced, building far beyond sustainable market levels. When travel restrictions lifted and financing costs soared, the bubble burst. Pandemic-era leases expired simultaneously, triggering massive waves of repossessions and trade-ins. The secondary market became saturated overnight with returned units, creating what industry analysts call the 3 million dump. For everyday RV owners, the impact is devastating. Resale values have plummeted 60 to 80%, wiping out retirement savings and vacation investments. What began as pandemic overproduction has evolved into a full-scale market correction, threatening an entire industry and the communities dependent on it. The RV industry's collapse is driven by floor plan loans, the credit lines dealers use to stock their lots. Each RV is purchased with borrowed money, accruing interest daily until sold. When demand was strong and rates hovered around 2 to 3%, the system worked smoothly. But as interest rates surged past 10%, these loans became unsustainable. Every unsold unit now costs dealers hundreds to over $1,000 monthly just sitting on the lot. A dealership carrying 200 RVs can hemorrhage $200,000 per month in carrying costs alone, creating an impossible financial burden. Banks have lost patience. They're calling in loans, demanding additional collateral, and forcing smaller dealerships toward bankruptcy. Dealers once comfortable carrying large inventories are now liquidating at devastating losses. RVs that retailed for $80,000 are now listed at $10,000 to $5,000, not as sales promotions, but out of desperation. This creates a vicious cycle analysts call the floor plan crisis. As sales slow, debt compounds. Dealers slash prices to generate any cash flow, which further crashes market values, making remaining inventory worth even less. The collapse spreads nationwide as comparable sales plummet. The current cheap RV boom isn't a buying opportunity. It's a warning sign of systemic financial breakdown across an entire industry. The explosion of RV auctions has created tempting miracle deals. Motorhomes listed at $5,000 to $7,000 that once sold for $60,000 or more. But buyers beware. Many hide serious problems beneath surface-level repairs. Government surplus sites, liquidation platforms, and rental fleet auctions overflow with these bargains. Yet a significant portion carry salvage or rebuilt titles, meaning insurance companies previously wrote them off as total losses. Others conceal structural decay, corroded electrical systems, water damage, or hidden liens that prevent legal ownership transfer. Scammers exploit this chaos by purchasing flood-damaged units cheaply, applying cosmetic fixes, fresh paint, new flooring, cleaned interiors, and flipping them online as lightly used. Unsuspecting buyers discover soft floors, mold behind walls, dead electrical circuits, and fraudulent paperwork only after closing the deal. Protecting yourself requires diligence. Always run the VIN through national databases like the National Motor Vehicle Title Information System to check for salvage history. Inspect the frame and undercarriage for rust or water lines. Use a moisture meter inside cabinets, under flooring, and around windows. Moisture indicates past or ongoing water intrusion. Request maintenance records and have a certified RV inspector examine anything before purchase. In today's market, a clean title and fresh appearance prove nothing. They could be masking thousands in hidden damage and future repair costs. When deals seem too good to be true, they usually are. After hurricanes and tropical storms devastate coastal areas, entire fleets of RVs end up submerged. Insurance write-offs that should never return to the road. Yet within months, these same vehicles mysteriously reappear hundreds of miles inland, cleaned up, repainted, and advertised as lightly used. These flood-damaged RVs are structural and electrical time bombs. Saltwater and prolonged moisture exposure corrode wiring, destroy circuit boards, rot subflooring, and compromise metal frames from within. The exterior may look pristine, but internal damage is irreversible and progressive. Buyers can identify warning signs through careful inspection. Red flags include musty or mildew odors, bubbling wallpaper or wall coverings, soft spots in flooring, water lines inside storage compartments, and rust on metal components. Overly strong air fresheners often signal attempts to mask water damage. Check under removable panels, inside cabinets, and around slide-outs where water typically intrudes. Once purchased, these units rapidly deteriorate. Owners report sudden power failures, corroded brake systems, failing appliances, and even electrical fires. Because many are sold with title-washed documents, fraudulently reissued as clean titles, buyers often have no legal recourse or insurance coverage. Industry experts estimate thousands of flood-damaged RVs circulate nationwide after every major storm. In the current market flooded with distressed inventory, distinguishing legitimate deals from dangerous ones requires thorough due diligence. Always hire a certified RV inspector before purchasing any used unit. What started as isolated complaints has mushroomed into a refund rebellion across the RV industry. Thousands of buyers who purchased during the 2020 to 2022 pandemic boom are now demanding their money back, citing persistent leaks, electrical failures, structural defects, and monthly payments they can no longer afford as interest rates climbed. Rental companies, warranty claimants, and private owners have joined the wave, overwhelming manufacturers with buyback demands. The industry faces a mass repurchase crisis, with companies forced to take back units and resell them at devastating losses. Industry insiders report millions in refund and warranty liabilities clogging the system. Manufacturers already drowning in unsold inventory are liquidating returned units, some brand new, at 50 to 80% below original prices just to generate cash flow. Dealers trapped between angry customers and impatient lenders are collapsing under refund obligations they cannot meet. This buyback flood has merged with the broader 3 million dump, further saturating the used market with devalued returns and depressing prices across the board. Units purchased for $100,000 during the boom now struggle to sell for $30,000. What manufacturers marketed as the golden age of RVing has become a buyer revolt. For the first time in decades, owners aren't shopping for upgrades. They're desperately trying to escape the debt their recreational vehicle dreams have become. In Elkhart County, Indiana, the heart of America's RV industry, the boom has become a devastating bust. Nearly 90% of all U.S. recreational vehicles are manufactured here, and during the pandemic, factories operated around the clock, producing far more units than the market could sustain. At the 2021 peak, Elkhart's unemployment dropped below 2%, and demand seemed limitless. By 2025, reality crashed down. Massive overproduction left fields of unsold RVs stretching for miles, sitting idle under factory floodlights like monuments to miscalculation. As interest rates climbed and consumer demand evaporated, dealers stopped placing orders. Floor plan loans defaulted. Production lines that once ran continuously now operate sporadically or sit silent. Warehouses overflow with inventory, parking lots are jammed with unsold units, and transport trucks that once delivered RVs to eager customers now haul them to liquidation auctions. Workers who earned steady overtime face layoffs and reduced shifts. The local economy, which thrived on RV manufacturing wages, is unraveling. Residents describe their community as an RV ghost town. Industry analysts estimate tens of thousands of brand new, unsold rigs sit idle across northern Indiana. What was marketed as symbols of post-pandemic freedom has become evidence of catastrophic overconfidence. A manufacturing hub built on travel dreams now drowning in unsellable inventory and mountains of debt no one can repay. Across the U.S., RV auction houses have become scenes of financial devastation. Dealers who once bid aggressively for inventory now watch in silence as screens flash, "No sale." Motorhomes that sold for $80,000 to $100,000 just 2 years ago now struggle to reach $20,000, some clearing for even less. This collapse stems from the 3 million dump, the mass liquidation event redefining RV values nationwide. Industry insiders call it the worst market correction in 40 years, erasing billions from dealership balance sheets. Auctions are overwhelmed with repossessed, refunded, and overstocked units far exceeding buyer demand. Lenders, desperate to recover losses, prioritize volume over value, accepting rock-bottom bids that crater market averages further. Each low auction sale resets resale benchmarks nationwide, instantly devaluing every dealer's remaining inventory. Dealers can't compete in this environment. In Ohio, Texas, and California, dealerships report losses between $500,000 and $2 million within months. Many are closing their doors permanently. Industry analysts predict up to 40% of independent RV dealerships could disappear by late 2025 unless interest rates decline and consumer confidence returns. The once thriving secondary market has become a desperate race to the bottom, where survival depends not on who sells the most, but on who can afford to lose the least. In the collapsing RV market, fraudulent paperwork has become a growing threat. Thousands of damaged or repossessed RVs are being resold with clean titles. Legal documents that appear legitimate but conceal histories of flood damage, insurance write-offs, or structural problems. This scam, called title washing, exploits differences in state titling laws. When a salvaged titled vehicle crosses state lines into jurisdictions with looser disclosure requirements, dishonest sellers can reset the title, erasing its damage history. A flood-damaged RV written off by insurance suddenly reappears on the market with paperwork suggesting it's problem-free. Experts warn this practice has intensified in 2025 due to the mass liquidation of millions of units from the current industry collapse. Protection requires diligence. Always cross-check the VIN, Vehicle Identification Number, through the National Motor Vehicle Title Information System (NMVTIS) or state databases before purchasing. These services reveal if a vehicle was previously declared salvage, rebuilt, or flood damaged. Additional red flags include VIN mismatches between the frame plate and title document, reluctance to provide vehicle history reports, and prices significantly below market value. A clean-looking title doesn't guarantee a safe vehicle. It may conceal corroded electrical systems, hidden mold, structural compromise, or outstanding liens. Once you sign and take possession, reversing fraud becomes nearly impossible. In today's market, verify everything before buying. That tempting $5,000 RV advertised online is rarely the final price. Hidden fees and logistical costs can quickly transform an apparent bargain into a financial trap. Auction houses typically charge buyers premiums of 8 to 10% on top of the winning bid, add administrative fees, documentation charges, and reconditioning costs, and you've already added hundreds of dollars. Transportation becomes the next major expense. Expect $500 to $2,000 depending on distance and size. Mandatory transit insurance, storage retrieval fees, and paperwork processing can add another $200 to $400. By the time you actually take possession, that $5,000 listing often costs $8,000 to $9,000 before taxes or any repairs, and repairs are almost always needed. Industry veterans warn these fee structures are intentional. Many auction platforms profit more from add-on charges than from the actual vehicle sales, using low starting bids as bait. Once payment clears, refunds are essentially impossible, even if the RV proves defective. Unlike traditional dealership purchases, auction units sell as is, where is, with zero warranty or legal protection. Buyers have no recourse for undisclosed damage or mechanical failures discovered after purchase. Newcomers chasing viral $5,000 steals frequently discover thousands in unexpected charges, towing bills, or title complications. In this market, real costs hide in fine print, and every dollar you don't anticipate becomes someone else's profit. While most RV owners and dealers panic, a small group of contrarian buyers is quietly turning the collapse into profit. These investors and hobbyists deliberately move against the crowd, targeting undervalued, overlooked segments others ignore. Instead of chasing depreciated luxury fifth wheels, they're acquiring older pop-ups, hybrid expandables, and specialty brands like Trail Manor for under $4,000. These smaller, simpler units cost less to maintain, feature fewer systems that can fail, and typically come from private sellers rather than debt-laden dealerships. Trail Manor's folding hardwall campers, for instance, offer full-height living space at half the towing weight, a unique design now selling 70 to 80% below original prices. Late 2000s pop-ups with steel frames and canvas tops represent another opportunity, often perfectly functional if properly stored. Contrarian buyers treat these as restoration projects, investing a few $100s in repairs and cosmetic improvements, then holding until the market stabilizes. Their strategy requires patience, storage capacity, and confidence in an eventual rebound. While panicked sellers flood the market with newer, more complex units, these savvy buyers focus on simpler, mechanically sound models with proven durability. They're proving that even in the worst RV market crash in decades, opportunity exists, just not where desperate crowds are looking. Amid the 2025 RV collapse, a few models have quietly resisted the market crash. Compact, lightweight trailers built before the pandemic boom. Brands like Keystone Passport, Jayco J Feather, and Palomino Puma have become the industry's unexpected survivors. Unlike newer rigs loaded with touchscreens, cheap composite panels, and complex electronics, these older trailers feature aluminum framing, thicker insulation, and straightforward mechanical systems. This simpler construction makes them easier to repair and significantly more durable. Many weigh under 4,000 pounds, allowing them to be towed by mid-size SUVs and pickup trucks, a crucial advantage as fuel costs rise. Units manufactured before 2010 occupy a sweet spot. Fully depreciated yet mechanically sound, often listed between $5,000 to $8,000 with substantial life remaining. Their simplicity means fewer water leaks, no computerized control modules prone to failure, and readily available, affordable replacement parts. The critical inspection points remain roof seams, floor softness, and axle wear, the most common failure areas after a decade of use. Buyers who locate well-maintained examples, particularly those stored indoors, often acquire trailers that will outlast many brand-new models rushed through production during the overproduction frenzy. In a market dominated by bankruptcy and repossessions, these compact survivors prove that old-school craftsmanship still beats modern shortcuts, and that smaller often means smarter. Every RV has two identities, one stamped into the frame and one recorded in state databases. When these don't match, buyers face potential financial disaster. In the chaos of the 2025 RV collapse, title fraud and VIN cloning have surged as scammers attempt to offload flood-damaged, repossessed, or stolen units. The scam works simply. Fraudsters take a damaged trailer, remove its metal VIN plate, and replace it with one from a legitimate vehicle, creating a washed identity that can fool buyers and even some DMV systems. Insurance analysts report thousands of cloned VINs now circulating through online marketplaces and auctions. Once a buyer unknowingly registers a fraudulent VIN, insurance companies can deny coverage, rendering the RV uninsurable and essentially worthless. Protect yourself by carefully inspecting the metal-stamped VIN, typically located near the hitch or driver's door frame, and verifying it matches both the printed title and the National Motor Vehicle Title Information System NMVTIS database. Any discrepancies, missing digits, alterations, or recently reissued titles should raise immediate red flags. Legitimate titles display clear ownership history, consistent signatures, and appropriate aging. Be wary of suspiciously pristine documents with fresh ink or glossy paper that looks newly printed. In a collapsing market flooded with desperate sellers, one mismatched VIN can erase thousands of dollars and leave you with an unlawful vehicle overnight. The RV industry's 2025 collapse has erased values faster than any vehicle sector in modern history. Models that sold for $120,000 now struggle to reach $25,000, a catastrophic 75 to 80% depreciation in just 2 years. Dealers frame it as market correction, but the reality is a full-scale asset meltdown. Across the country, unpaid floor plan loans are forcing dealerships to liquidate inventory below cost simply to survive. Recent auctions in Indiana, Texas, and Florida show fifth wheels that commanded $85,000 in 2022, now clearing for $18,000 to $22,000. Travel trailers hover around $5,000 to $9,000. The financial damage is staggering. Industry analysts estimate $12 to $15 billion in lost inventory value since mid-2023. Many dealers have abandoned their lots entirely, unable to repay lenders demanding payment on unsellable stock. Manufacturers are slashing production, laying off thousands of workers, and cutting MSRPs on new models by up to 40%. For private owners, the impact is devastating. Trade-ins that once covered loan balances now fall tens of thousands of dollars short, trapping owners in negative equity. What makes this crash unprecedented is its velocity, driven not merely by demand collapse, but by simultaneous credit tightening, mass refund demands, and dealer panic. A once booming industry is now liquidating its legacy at garage sale prices. The epicenter of the RV price collapse lies in America's Midwest, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan, where the market's downward spiral begins each year. These states hold the nation's highest concentration of factories, storage yards, and dealership lots. As winter approaches, dealers face a brutal calculation: sell immediately or pay thousands in storage and heating costs for idle inventory. By January and February, Midwest dealers slash prices 50 to 70%, igniting a markdown wave that ripples nationwide. Once local buyers are exhausted, thousands of units are transported south and east, reappearing weeks later on platforms like GovPlanet, GovDeals, and Facebook Marketplace, often with new listings but identical VINs. This seasonal migration has become so predictable that industry analysts call it the RV liquidation clock. Savvy buyers track this pattern to secure the lowest prices before coastal dealers acquire inventory and mark it up again in spring. In 2025, with 3 million RVs flooding the market and record-high interest rates, Midwest prices have collapsed faster than anywhere else. Some lots are clearing brand-new 2023 models for under $20,000, units that originally retailed for $80,000 or more. For investors and bargain hunters, timing the Midwest meltdown represents the difference between overpaying and finding legitimate deals. In a collapsing RV market flooded with questionable deals, a 30-minute inspection can save thousands in hidden repairs. You don't need professional help, just your senses, a flashlight, and patience. Start with the roof. Cracked sealant or uneven caulking indicates water intrusion has already begun. Inside, press walls and corners. Any soft spots signal rot beneath. Walk the entire floor. Sagging or spongy sections mean moisture damage. Plug the RV into shore power and run all lights, outlets, and appliances simultaneously. Tripping breakers or flickering lights indicate electrical problems. Test propane lines with soapy water. Bubbles reveal dangerous leaks. Step inside and smell carefully. Musty, sour, or overly perfumed air usually signals mold or attempted cover-ups. A $30 moisture meter detects trapped humidity behind panels or under flooring that appears fine superficially. Finally, crawl underneath and inspect the frame, axle mounts, weld seams, and stabilizers for corrosion or cracks, structural issues that compromise safety. In today's chaotic auction environment, where thousands of flood-damaged and repossessed units circulate with fraudulent documentation, methodical inspection is your primary defense. 30 focused minutes can mean the difference between acquiring a solid vehicle and inheriting a rolling disaster waiting to fail on your first trip. While the traditional RV market struggles through the 3 million dump, manufacturers are betting big on electric ERVs, potentially setting up the next crisis. Companies have invested hundreds of millions chasing the green revolution, but the economics remain challenging. Early electric motorhomes and trailers carry price tags between $250,000 to $400,000, yet offer limited range, typically 100 to 150 miles per charge under ideal conditions. Towing or driving uphill can cut that significantly. Charging infrastructure poses another major obstacle. Stations capable of accommodating 30-foot rigs remain scarce, and charging times can exceed several hours. Battery replacement costs potentially reach $30,000 or more. Industry analysts worry ERVs are repeating the pattern that triggered the current collapse. Overproduction driven by hype rather than realistic demand assessment. As sales disappoint expectations, manufacturers sit on expensive inventory while government incentives face uncertain futures. With high interest rates and infrastructure limitations, these vehicles risk becoming the next wave of repossessions and fire sales by 2026. Dealers quietly report early demonstration units being discounted 50 to 60% below retail to move inventory. If the gas-powered RV crash serves as warning, the electric transition could prove even more volatile, combining bleeding-edge technology, premium pricing, and limited practicality. The next market correction may already be building beneath the surface. The 2025 RV collapse isn't merely a market correction, it's a reckoning for an industry built on inflated expectations and cheap credit. From Elkhart's idled factories to nationwide auctions selling premium rigs for pennies on the dollar, every layer of the system has been exposed. Dealers borrowed beyond their means, manufacturers overproduced recklessly, and buyers stretched budgets on loans they could never sustain. What was marketed as freedom has become a financial storm devastating businesses and families alike. Yet this isn't solely about loss, it's about fundamental reset. The RV industry is returning to its roots: simplicity, practicality, and honest value. Those who study market patterns, verify meticulously before purchasing, and exercise patience will emerge ahead when stability returns. Whether you're an investor seeking opportunity, a weekend traveler planning your first purchase, or someone chasing the open road dream, understand this moment's significance. We're witnessing the great RV reckoning, a transformation rewriting industry rules for everything that follows. The critical question has shifted. It's no longer how far prices can fall or how many units will flood the market. The question now is, who will still be standing when the collapse finally stops? The collapse isn't slowing, it's spreading. Dealers, lenders, and everyday owners are trapped in a market that's still crashing. What's your take? Would you buy an RV in 2025 or wait for prices to hit rock bottom? Tell me in the comments. Then watch our next report. RV homeless crisis is out of control. What's really happening in 2025?